The city lights blurred into streaks of gold and crimson as I navigated the late Friday night traffic. Another week was winding down, and I was ready for it to be over. My last passenger, a gruff man in a worn suit, had grunted a curt farewell before disappearing into the shadows of a dimly lit alley. I stretched, feeling the familiar ache in my shoulders. One more ride, I told myself, just one more, and then I could finally call it a night. All I wanted was a simple, safe end to the long hours, a quiet drive home to the comfort of my own bed. The hum of the engine was a lullaby, a promise of rest. I imagined the quiet of my apartment, the warmth of a cup of tea. The city, however, had other plans for me. It always did. Then I saw her. She stood alone under a lonely, flickering streetlight, a solitary figure against the backdrop of the bustling city. She couldn't have been much older than 17, perhaps even younger. Her attire was strikingly out of place, a soft pink dress that seemed to belong to another era. Her hair was neatly braided, a perfect plait that cascaded down her back. She looked like a porcelain doll, timeless and fragile, as if she had stepped out of a forgotten photograph. An unexplainable instinct, a pull I couldn't ignore, urged me to stop. It was a feeling of unease mixed with a strange sense of duty. I pulled over, the engine idling softly. She turned, her eyes wide and unblinking. "Are you waiting for someone?" I asked, my voice softer than I intended. She simply shook her head. "I'm Marianne," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I'm waiting for someone who is very late." A strange bond began to form between us, an unspoken understanding. Marianne was shy, her gaze often drifting away, but there was a quiet strength about her. My own nature, usually easygoing and open, seemed to complement her reserved demeanor. We fell into a comfortable silence, punctuated by shared, fleeting smiles. Small talk emerged, hesitant at first, then flowing more easily. She spoke of simple things, of waiting, of the cold. As we drove, I found myself thinking of my own sister, a girl I hadn't seen in years. Marianne's vulnerability, her quiet presence, stirred a protective instinct within me. I felt an overwhelming desire to ensure she was safe, to guide her away from whatever shadows she might be facing. "Do you need a ride?" I asked, the words coming out before I could properly think. She hesitated, then nodded. "I don't have any money," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "And my phone is dead." "Don't worry about it," I said, trying to sound reassuring. "Consider it a good deed." I told myself it was just that, a simple act of kindness on a late night. The city lights began to thin, replaced by the encroaching darkness of the outskirts. The streets grew narrower, the buildings more sparse. A sense of unease began to prickle at the back of my neck. Marianne had given me an address, a series of numbers and a street name that felt vaguely familiar, yet I couldn't place it. The GPS signal seemed to waver, the map on my screen flickering. Then, through the gloom, I saw it. A large, rusted iron gate, its ornate spikes reaching towards the moonless sky. It looked ancient, foreboding, like something from a forgotten nightmare. The truth, cold and sharp, began to dawn on me. My breath hitched in my throat. Above the gate, barely visible in the dim light, was a faded sign. Its weathered letters, once painted with care, now spelled out a single chilling word: sanitarium. The word hung in the air, a heavy, suffocating presence. My mind raced, trying to reconcile the innocent girl beside me with the grim reality of our destination. Marianne's soft voice, her porcelain doll appearance, her unsettling familiarity, it all clicked into place. A horrifying memory, long buried, clawed its way to the surface of my consciousness. It was a news report, years ago, about a case that had gripped the nation. They called her the Doll Eyes Killer. The details flooded my mind. A young girl, no older than Marianne, who had murdered her own sisters. The chilling nickname, Doll Eyes, had come from the unnerving blankness of her stare, a gaze that held no remorse, no emotion. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat of terror. The pieces of the puzzle, scattered and seemingly unrelated, now snapped together with a sickening precision. The girl I had tried to protect, the vulnerable child I had felt compelled to help, was the killer. Marianne, the Doll Eyes killer, was sitting right beside me. I pulled the car to a stop before the rusted gate. Marianne opened the door, her movements fluid and unhurried. She stepped out into the oppressive silence of the night. Then she turned. Her eyes, those wide, unblinking doll eyes, met mine. A slow, deliberate smile spread across her face, a smile that held no warmth, only a chilling, knowing amusement. And then she winked. She turned and walked towards the gate, disappearing into the shadows beyond. My act of kindness, my simple desire for a safe end to the night, had led me into a terrifying encounter. It was a stark contrast to the simple, "Have a good night. Stay safe." I might have wished for myself. The darkness, I now knew, lurked beneath the most innocent of facades.